All right, it is time for AT Tech number 1 for communication. So for this one, I was really interested in closed captioning, specifically on self-made videos. So let me explain. I really am trying to stick with AT Techs that I can use in my classroom. So as I was reading chapter 6 on communication, I have had students who were slightly hard of hearing in the past. And so I have had to make sure that I had closed captioning. Simple things like make sure that you're facing the student when you're speaking to them. Just those little tips and tricks that was included in a pamphlet that was given to me by a specialist that came to the school. So I actually do have extensive experience with deaf culture because I used to work for a sign language interpreting agency for many years during college and even a little bit after college as well. But I've never had like a fully deaf student. But I know a decent amount of sign language, and sign language is useful, you know, for a lot of things. Even for some of my students who have behavior issues, we work out a sign because it's like an issue for them to ask to go to the bathroom. So in the past, sometimes I've had students say toilet. This is the sign for toilet. When they need to use the bathroom. So instead of having to raise their hand and ask me, that's just an easier way. So sign language has been great in the past, but closed captioning specifically for my hard of hearing students, I'm really interested in, and something that I think could benefit more of my students. So one of the major apps that I've been relying on, especially since schools have been closed, I've always used it, but even more since schools were closed in March, was Edpuzzle. So if you're not familiar with this app, it's great because you can take videos from a lot of different creators and you can edit them to insert your own questions. You can insert links, you can voice over them, you can make your own videos and upload them. And I've done, you know, all of the above. You can even do projects. You can assign students to find their own videos and put questions in there. And I found that to be really effective. It's a great student-centered project. And I've used it for imperialism because that tends to be a difficult topic for students when they're trying to look into the specifics. So anyways, I was reading page 117 in the textbook, Assistive Technology in the Classroom, and it really caught my eye, this whole idea of using more and more closed captioning, because a wise teacher once told me what's good for one student is often good for other students, right? So using closed captioning wouldn't only benefit my students who are hard of hearing, but it would benefit students who are, for example, using Edpuzzle, and you can access Edpuzzle on your cell phone. So if they're watching an Edpuzzle on their cell phone on the bus on the way home and they don't happen to have their headphones, or they just don't feel like listening to my voice, right? Closed captioning inside of the Edpuzzle would be a really great addition. Well, here's the problem. I went into Edpuzzle to see if it's easy to add closed captioning because it never crossed my mind before, and it's not. Now, I do have an email out to the creators at Edpuzzle to find out where they're at with that, if it's something that they're considering adding or what the situation is. However, I wasn't able to figure out how to add closed captioning on their videos. So what I did was I typed closed captioning into Edpuzzle, and I actually found an Edpuzzle on how to add closed captioning into your own presentations. So that doesn't necessarily help me when I'm using YouTube videos, but it would be helpful for when I create my own videos, which is something that I do a lot, right? Because it's an easy way to summarize a ton of information. And I use, you know, Loom typically, but I would probably use Zoom as well to just capture whatever I'm doing on my screen, capture my voice. And then what I did was I created an example of how that closed captioning works. And it works using Google Slides. So I tried it in PowerPoint. You can't use it in PowerPoint. You have to use it in a slide creator that's linked to the internet. You turn on closed captioning after you hit present, and then it captures whatever you're saying out loud, and you can change it to the bottom of the screen or the top of the screen, which I thought was pretty cool because a lot of times when you are recording something, they do have something at the bottom already. So you'd have to click out of all of that. So I do have that short video option in my work samples if you want to go check that out and see how that works. But how cool is that you can close caption your own videos, so that when you create your own videos for your students, whether you're just posting them straight up or you're going to put them in an ed puzzle, it just makes life easier for all of your students, including your hard of hearing and possibly deaf students. The cost, $0, so big plus, super easy to use. You do have to speak kind of slowly, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think when you're giving a presentation to students and it forces you to slow down a little bit, there's really nothing wrong with that. And I think for a lot of students, not only being able to hear what you're saying, but being able to read what you're saying is just an additional bonus for everyone. So I would highly, highly recommend that you check this out next time you go to record a lecture. I think it would be a positive for everyone.